it's Terry from the Quarter Acre. How are you doing today? I'm doing great. I'm going to be answering your burning homeschool questions today. But first, probably the first question, since I talk a lot with my hands, is what happened to my hand? I decided we have an abundance of apricots, and so I decided to process some. So I did 3 sheets of frozen apricots, 3 big cookie sheets, and then I did some freezer jam. And then I decided I wanted to bust out my dehydrator and dehydrate some to add to trail mix and things like that. Well, the dehydrator was on the top shelf in the garage on top of another box, and I decided to climb on a milk crate, and the milk crate gave way and I was holding onto the metal shelves, and yeah, so I'm pretty sore today, and I've got 3 sliced open fingers. Not my smartest move, but it was a great teaching moment as I lay there on the floor clutching my bleeding hand. And my husband administered first aid for the kids to see some basic first aid skills and learn that, learn from mom's example, climbing on a milk crate that isn't flipped over the right way isn't the best thing to do. Anyways, let's go ahead and dive into your homeschool questions. So the first one is, how do your kids make friends if they're homeschooled? Well, we don't have a crazy huge homeschool community in our area. We live rurally, so the biggest city closest to us is an hour north or an hour south. And then there's like a string of like small towns in between, about 12 to 15 miles apart. And so we're not huge on traveling back and forth. We have some friends who do co-ops at one of the northern or southern towns near us. They drive an hour each way. I am not doing that. I commuted 12 miles each way for my son to go to public school for the first 6 years of his public school life, or the first years of his school life, and doesn't sound like that far. It's just 12 miles one way and 12 miles back. But then when you figure you're doing that in the morning to drop them off, that 24 miles round trip, and then in the afternoon to pick them up, or you're like trying to kill time, it just, yeah, I'm not a huge commuter. So we don't do those. We have a field trip group. So we gather up a bunch of different homeschool kids that live around here. There's probably 10 or less of us, and we do field trips to, like, we did a grocery store, we've done museums, we've done reenactment days, like lots of different things. So we have that, and then the big one for us is 4-H. So we do a ton through our local 4-H chapter, and that's where most of my kids have their friends, because 4-H kind of, like, my daughter does dance and my son does golf, but when they go to those lessons, it's kind of like school. Like, they're there to learn, and the instructor is talking, and they are being respectful, and while their friends may be there, they're not necessarily socializing. Kind of like school. School, they're not supposed to be socializing. They are supposed to be sitting there quietly at their desk and learning. At lunchtime, at least at the public school my kids went to, they weren't supposed to be talking during lunch until it was outside playtime. So yeah, their lessons, I don't really count that as socialization, even though they go to ballet and they go to golf. But 4-H has a ton of socialization, like, built in. Like, right now, my son's working on the achievement day for our county, and also there's going to be dance afterwards for all the 4-Hers in the county, so that's really cool. He did 4-H camp, where he went for a week and did sleepaway camp, made some really great friends there. And they just get to see each other. There's a monthly meeting, and then there's project meetings throughout the year as well. And then, yeah, they just get together and hang out. So it's been mostly the field trip group, and 4-H have been huge for us. So that's how my kids make friends. They also make friends, like, if we go to the public pool or to the park, my kids always pick up other kids to hang out with and play with. And I think a lot of that has to do with they're comfortable with multiple age ranges. So my son's 15, my daughter's 9, but they will play with 3-year-olds all the way up to hang out with 18-year-olds. Like, they're comfortable and talk to their parents and adults. So yeah, that's how they make friends. Do we stay in our pajamas all day? Well, no. So my son has a dog walking business 3 days a week, so he's for sure getting dressed on those days, getting dressed well. We find that getting dressed is helpful in productivity. It's summer right now, so I've got my summer crazy mom bun, no makeup. I'm doing prep and clean around the house, so it's leggings and t-shirt for me. But we do get dressed. Usually every morning. My daughter definitely is like a little fashion plate. She wants to get dressed in something that expresses her personal style each and every day. And I try to get dressed to shoes every day. Let's see here. What else do we have? Do your kids wish they were in public school? So my son will be going back to public school for his last 2 years of high school because he wants that experience. My daughter does not want to go back to public school. Sometimes she's like, oh, it would be fun, like, because she remembers kindergarten. She did public kindergarten. And she had an amazing teacher, and I have to keep reminding her, like, kindergarten's a unique beast, and it was even unique for you because you had an old school kindergarten teacher that did, like, the traditional kinder, play to learn type of classroom setting, lots of arts and crafts and fun things and holidays and whatnot. It's not all like that, and especially now, there'd be no toys in your classroom. There'd be no, cute curtains and books and fancy little things like that because they're not allowed. And yeah, so sometimes she's like, she idealizes it, but whenever we talk about it, like, she's like, no, I want to stay home with mom. She does enjoy going to summer day camp once a week. She's had a lot of fun doing that. My son, like I said, wants to go back junior, senior year for like the experience of being a high schooler. But the cool thing is he did 8 classes last year, and he's doing 9 classes this year. So by the time he gets there, he'll need 2 English classes, a computer science class, and like 3 electives to graduate. Like, he'll be ready to rock and roll. So let's see. He'll be able to have a fun high school experience. Let's see. Why do you homeschool? So we started homeschooling when I realized at the 2020 like send home in March that the online was not going to work. We logged in once to my son's junior high homeroom online thing, and it was so overwhelming for me. Like, and he just like tuned out, like, nope, not working. So I'm like, okay, that's not going to work. So we decided for that following school year, and my daughter was just not into it. She was like top of her class kindergarten. Like, she actually got like outstanding female student for her class. And really, she was just kind of on it and ready to rock and roll. And like, as soon as it went virtual, like, she just was not into it. So we decided to homeschool for that year that they were going to be doing distance learning, and it was a huge eye-opening experience as to, my son had all these IEP interventions and things like that, and we realized, oh, he doesn't really, like he's way behind. He's not like a little behind, he's way behind. And then like, oh, but he has the capability of catching up. Like, we've gone leaps and bounds in this year, and it's working way better for him. And oh my gosh, he finished 2 grade levels in 1 year. And like, it just kind of snowballed into this, oh, this is so much nicer. And like, there's not this panic and stress every morning of getting ready for school. I don't have to wonder like what they're eating for lunch or what they're up to. Like, I get to see the aha moments, and I get to be a part of that. And if they're not picking something up, like, I know, and I can find strategies to help them. And like, it just kind of snowballed into this, like, why haven't we been doing this whole time? And I actually have mom guilt for not homeschooling my son from the beginning, but that's why we homeschool, because it just works for my kids. I can see where for some families and for some kids it just wouldn't work. For my kids, it just works. Okay, let's see. Does homeschool make your kids socially awkward? No. My son was in public school from kindergarten through 6th grade. And any social awkwardness he has, I blame on public school. Yeah, they're not socially awkward. They have friends. They are friends with public school kids and homeschool kids. kids older than them, kids younger than them. Yeah, I think they're pretty well-adjusted kids. Let's see. Oh, are you Christian homeschool or secular homeschool? We are part of a secular charter, but we are Christian, and we add Christian influences into our homeschooling. Let's see. Do you get to sleep all day and stay up all night? No. Oh, no. We're an early to bed, early to rise kind of family. Our teenage son, not as much. He would rather stay up a little later and sleep in a little later. But in general, my husband wakes up at like 5:30, and he leaves for work at like 6:15, 6:20, and luckily he works close by, so he works at 6:30. I get up about 6 o'clock. I wake up like when he wakes up, but then I get up at about 6 o'clock, and I have my morning time because I'm a morning person, and I like to have that quiet time in the morning to get things going for the day. And then my daughter usually wakes up around 7. If for some reason we've stayed up later, she'll sleep until maybe 8. My son walks dogs from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock 3 days a week, so he kind of gets up. On those days, he's up by 7:30 and getting ready to go and walk dogs. Let's see. On the other days, though, I do have to wake him up because he doesn't set an alarm for Monday and Friday, which we've talked about, but yeah. And he'll sleep in pretty much as late as you'll let him, because he'll sleep in and then he'll like sneak a book in and start reading when he wakes up. But yeah, that's kind of, and then we go to bed. We go to bed pretty early. Like during the summer, it's like 9, sometimes 10. Like we stay up late. That's like late for us. But during the school year, it's usually like 8:30, 9 o'clock, 9:30. We're shutting it down. Let's see. Do your kids want to go to college? So my son, no. He has no interest in going to college whatsoever. He never has. Right now he's looking at, his area of interest is maybe being an HVAC installation or repairman. So we're looking into that. He's talked about being a welder before or an electrician. My daughter wants to be, she's 9, so she wants to be a veterinarian, professional ballet dancer, doctor, mommy, and astronomer, like everything in between. So we're waiting to see what happens there. I don't think at 9 you're really ready to plot a course for the rest of your life. Let's see. I don't even know at 15 if you're ready to plot a course for the rest of your life. Let's see. Do you have dances? Do your kids go to prom? So Tommy, I don't know that he'll go to prom. It's kind of not his thing. He might enjoy it. He did go to a homeschool dance last year and had fun. So he might do prom when he gets to the high school. And like he did a homeschool dance, and JB would probably enjoy a homeschool dance. We didn't participate. It was all the families were welcome, and younger siblings. We wanted to give Tommy that like first dance experience, so we didn't go. We sent him with another homeschool family, and he had a great time, and I think he would go again. And we'd probably take JB in the future, but we kind of want to make it special. So maybe when she hits like junior high age, and then that way it gives her brother a little autonomy during the teen years for that. Do you get breaks? Like, do you take Christmas vacations and summer vacations, or do you take breaks at different times of the year? So we do like modified breaks, because when we were PSA, we did no breaks really. Like we take a couple days off here or there, but we just chugged right through the school year, and we ended the school year really early. We're with a charter, so we do work ahead so that our end of the year, our tough core academics are done a little bit earlier than most people. So we're done like mid-May with our stringent academics. And then it goes into field trips and fairs and things like that are learning activities instead of, paper and pen and studying. We do take a little break around Christmas. It's shorter than what our school break is. Like, we keep schooling a little closer to Christmas. When it's fall break for our school, we continue doing schoolwork through that and educational activities. I find it's really hard for the kids to transition from break back into school, back and forth, back and forth. So we go lighter at sometimes and heavier at sometimes. I wouldn't say we necessarily take full breaks, but we during the year, but we do take a summer break. Summer break, we're not doing anything. We used to do those bridge books, but I feel like, especially as the kids are getting older, they need the break. They need to unplug and play and relax and just kind of do their thing. We'll see how that worked out for us when we start back in the fall, if we had any slide. Let's see. Are your kids super smart, or do you feel like they're falling behind because of homeschool? Well, they're definitely not falling behind because of homeschool. Like I said, my daughter's worked ahead, so she's supposed to be starting the 4th grade, and she'll be doing 5th grade English. 4th grade math, we paused. She was in 3rd grade this last year. We were doing 4th grade level math. We paused and really stopped and focused in on multiplication and division facts, because that was something that I didn't pick up easily and didn't feel like I mastered in elementary school, and that held me back a little bit, I feel. And my son struggled with it. Most adults I know that are my age don't know their math facts as well as my dad's generation does. And so I really wanted her to have that really strong foundation, so we paused. So she's about a semester ahead in math and a full year ahead in English. So is that super smart? I don't know. I feel like she's ahead. My son jumped 3 grade levels the first year we were in homeschool from where he was in public school to there, and then jumped another 3 grade levels. He his standardized testing, he's in the 95th percentile for his English state testing now. So I guess he's really smart too. But he didn't necessarily, public school didn't necessarily bring that out in him. It didn't give him the tools to succeed. Homeschool is helping him get caught up where he needs to get caught up and excelling where he needs to excel. So yeah, I think both of my kids are super smart, but I think every kid is super smart just in their own way. Every kid has their strengths and every kid has their weaknesses, and it's just finding how to play to their strengths and how to support them through their weaker points. Do you have recess? So we have a brain break before lunch, and whenever we need to take one, I tend to be a let's get in, get it done, and hopefully be done by lunch kind of homeschooler. And then the rest of the day is kind of chores and recess time. And recess looks like going out and playing in the backyard, going to different activities, things like that. Let's see. Do you let your kids watch TV? Yes and no. Yes and no. So we just watched the second Indiana Jones movie as for family movie night before last. Sorry, I'm shifting in my seat. So they've always watched TV. We like to watch comedies. We like to watch movies. We have Hulu and Netflix and Disney Plus and all those different streaming services and Yahoo Prime Video and all that. But we are finding that the more our daughter watches TV, the more behaviors that we see that we don't care for. She does a lot better when she doesn't have screen time. Any kind of screen time kind of gets her sassy at this stage. We didn't notice that when she was little as much, but at this 9-year-old stage, we're noticing a lot of sassy. She was watching Sister, which is a show that I watched when I was a preteen and a teen, and I never had a problem with it, but she was really modeling those sassy behaviors. So we've kind of cut back on TV, which is something I never thought I would do, because I grew up in a TV household. The TV was on all day, every day, just background noise. Now I go to my dad's house And like, I'm like, just turn off the TV. We're sitting here talking and visiting. Like, why does the TV always have to be on? But he always has to have it on. So it's a mixed bag. We do TV, but we're trying not to do TV as much. Let's see. What's the other one here? Oh, what's the most annoying homeschool question or statement you get from other people when they find out you homeschool? Socialization always kills me. Socialization and forced fraternization are not the same thing. So in a public school, you have forced fraternization. They take a random grouping of kids based solely on their age and put them together in a classroom, and they're stuck with them for a year, or I don't want to say stuck with them, but they're with them for a year, and then they shuffle everybody around like a deck of cards the next year and put them in another classroom. And growing up in public school, like, you only hang out with who's in your classroom. Like, you're not hanging out with kids in other classes or other grade levels, really. Like, you may see them, you may say hi, but you're really like limited to who's in your class. And you may share no common interests with people in your class. I have a lot of friends who are like, my kid doesn't have any of their friends in their class this year, and they're like dealing with feeling lonely, or they're getting bullied, or they're, this, that, and the other. And so when people are like, oh, socialization, I'm like, no, public school is forced fraternization, not socialization. And the other thing that I've heard other homeschools say is, we socialize dogs, we don't socialize children. My kids can talk to adults and other kids, and we don't keep them locked in the basement. Like, they go out into the world all the time and see people and have fun, and they have a lot. I've noticed my kids have a lot of really caring adults in their life, like role models in their life. Like, because we homeschool, my son can help out. I help out with our local fair, and so he goes and volunteers and helps out, and so he's got these adult role models that he works with that can help him out. He can help his grandfather out and absorb that knowledge and wisdom and set of skills from him, and it's just really cool. My daughter has a lot of mentors as well in the community, people that light up when they see them and give them hugs and teach them things, and I think that's a real socialization benefit for the kiddos. So that's probably the most annoying. The other thing is the quizzing. So I haven't run into this as much as I think other homeschoolers might have, but a lot of times people will start asking your kids questions to see if they're like at grade level, and I'm like, do you do that to public school kids? Like, that's kind of weird to like pop quiz a kid on U.S. history at 9 years old out in public. Like, you wouldn't do that to public school kids. Why are you doing that to homeschool kids? It's bizarre. And it's almost like they take satisfaction if they don't know something. Like, if you ask my 9-year-old, to recite the Constitution, and she can't recite more than the preamble, like if she was in public school, would you ask her to do that? Because I don't think that she would be able to. I know that she wouldn't be able to. It's weird. But they seem to take some delight in like stumping the homeschool kid. And I think a lot of that comes from like, if you make a choice that's different from someone else's parenting choice, like they almost feel like you're invalidating their choice, or like they're threatened by the fact that you made a different choice. And I'm like, hey, do what works for you, do what works for your kids. Every homeschool is different. Every public school is fairly different. Like, there's totally different cultures at each one. Even within our town, we have 3 elementary schools. It's a small town. We have 3 elementary schools, and each one is extremely unique, and each one is known for certain strengths and certain weaknesses. So, like, I don't know, it's bizarre to me when people are, like, trying to stump your homeschooler. Like, well, if you asked a kid from school A, school B, and school C the same question, they're going to give you different answers. Even from classroom to classroom, what the teacher's emphasis is on is different. So don't quiz homeschoolers. Don't ask them about socialization. Are you worried they're going to be weird? Met a lot more public school kids that are weird than homeschool kids that are weird. I know that statistically it's just because there's more public school kids probably, but kids are just weird in general. I've never met a kid that I thought was like super normal, well-adjusted adult material. They're just weird, and I don't know. Most adults are really weird too. So I don't know, just be weird. What else? What else have I been asked? Or like common things with homeschooling. Oh, the big one, I could never homeschool my kids. Please don't say that in front of your kids or in front of my kids. Like, why? Why would you say that? Because it either sounds like I'm sacrificing to do this, or like you can't stand your kids. Like, I don't know how I'm supposed to take that. Other than that, we get a lot of like, oh, that's really cool. Or, oh, I thought about homeschooling. Or, what do you use? What curriculum do you use? And then there's a lot more homeschoolers out there than I think we realize. Like, we're not all marching with a flag trying to recruit new homeschoolers to the cause, because there's no cause. We're just doing the best we can by our kids. So yeah, those were your questions, and those are my answers. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section down below. I hope you have an amazing day. Happy homeschooling, and be blessed.